Hey guys, I'm Greg. Welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Let's go see what's in the fridge today, guys. Hello everybody, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. This ought to be a big treat for what it costs. Uh, this is a 12-ounce bottle. This is BrewDog's Cocoa Psycho. And this is not a cheap bottle for a 12-ounce. This comes from Scotland, so there's some transportation fees in there. But this is like a $13 a bottle of beer. Very pricey as far as I'm concerned for a 10% beer. There are a lot of other beers that are a lot less expensive than this, but seeing that it comes from Scotland, and BrewDog has a reputation of brewing some enormous ABV beers. I've not had this one before, and the last beer run to the barrel chest, I picked up two different ones from them. This one being a 10% and another one that's like 18%, and they were both about the same price, about $13 a bottle. Like I said, that is a lot to pay for a 12-ounce bottle. A lot of times you can get a 6-pack, at least a 4-pack of a large ABV stout for that price. So kind of limited on how many that I would buy at that price. I mean, it would have to really blow my hair back and my socks off for it to be worth that kind of money. But like I said, it comes from Scotland. It's not brewed around the corner or an adjoining state over or whatever. It's got some transportation fees and that coming from Scotland, and having the name BrewDog on there. So they have a pretty good reputation of brewing some enormous beers, but some of those enormous beers are rather boozy. I mean, if you're looking for the end of the world or Tactical Nuclear Penguin, they brew those beers just to say that they brew the biggest ABV beer. And how they do that is by freezing. Once they brew the beer, they keep freezing and refreezing and removing the water to where you have nothing but alcohol left. And with that being said, I'm not a big fan of super boozy beers. Avery does a real good job on their big beers. They're 16 to 19 percenters, and they do have some booziness to it. So if you're drinking something like a 20 some or a 30 some, or I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the end of the world beer is or the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, but they're way up there, and I don't know if I would enjoy that, and especially if I had to pay 20, 30, or $40 to get a 12-ounce bottle of one of those. So I just don't see that happening. I mean, it would really have to be a really exceptional beer, other than just saying I got the biggest ABV beer produced in the world. So that's not everything. That's not the whole ball of wax, in my opinion. It's got to be a balanced beer. I mean, booze for the sake of booze doesn't impress me. Doesn't impress me at all. So I would rather much do a 10%er that is fairly balanced and not quite as boozy as to do a 30%. It was just nothing but booze. I mean, I just don't think I would enjoy that. So, with that being said, let's see what this one brings. This is their Cocoa Psycho. It is a Russian Imperial Stout brewed with coffee, chocolate, and vanilla. And right on the back here, it says this is batch number 366, and it's best before 09/24 of 2019. Well, we're just in 2015, so they're saying this beer is going to keep at least 4 years, and at 10% it will. But the drawback to that, it says brewed with coffee, and the coffee is going to fade over time. So I don't know if I'd want to cellar this beer for 4 years and lose the coffee flavors in this beer. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, it all depends on what you're after. If you want to pick up several of these and do one now and cellar one and see what the taste difference would be 4 or 5 years down the road, I wouldn't argue with that at all. Wouldn't argue with that at all. But with the coffee being in this beer, I don't think I want to cellar this beer that long. So we're going to do it now. Yeah. So, and I'm in the mood for a nice Imperial Stout. Let's see what this one brings. There are several different commercial descriptions here. Rate Beer's got one and Beer Advocate's got another. And they seem to be rather lengthy. So I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible. And without this being a 25, 30-minute video. Rate Beer says, commercial description, keg bottle 2012 prototypes release. Well, we already know this is batch number 336, is that what I said? 366, and it's best before. So we don't know when it was bottled. I guess you may be able to go to their website and find out when batch 366 was produced. But I like that bottled on date instead of the best by date. Say for instance, they think this beer would keep 10 years. Is this beer 6 years old already? I mean, unless you want to do the research, you're not going to know by looking at the bottle. So it's a 10%er, so I know it's going to keep, but I have no idea when it was put in the bottle. 10% decadent indulgent Imperial Russian Stout, Imperial Russian Stout brewed with copious amounts of dark malts infused with coffee beans during the boil and after fermentation and aged on cocoa nibs, vanilla pods, and toasted oak chips. This opulent whirl of chocolate coffee, dark malts, and hops even rivals the most colorful of Imperial Fabergé eggs. Originally created to celebrate the Russian royal family, this is a fitting tribute to which to toast your own empire. And over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says, welcome to the world of Coco Psycho, a liquid dimension where pure indulgence reigns. Originally brewed some 250 years ago to celebrate the Russian royal family, this 10% Russian Imperial Stout borrows from the decadence of time with the extravagantly smooth blend of crushed coffee beans, cocoa nibs, and dark malts. But continue to dig a little deeper past the infusions of vanilla pods and toasted oak chips, and eventually you'll come face to face with the madness required to make this beer. A kind of insanity that would have made Rasputin himself proud. To fully unleash the aromas and bittersweet luxury of the stout, we recommend drinking it from a stemmed beer glass before taking a sledgehammer to a Fabergé egg. Well, I don't believe I'd want to take a sledgehammer to a Fabergé egg, and I'm not going to drink it out of a stemmed glass. I'm going to drink it out of the solvent beer glass. I could have just as easily brought out the double glass for this, but this is the glass I choose, and it will do just freaking lovely. Alright, 10% IBUs, they say, are 85 on this beer, so that is a very high IBU for a Russian Imperial Stout. Maybe they've, with such sweet malts, they've had to increase the bitterness up to that level to keep it balanced. That's what I'm hoping. So we'll see how bitter it is and how well balanced it is in just a second here. The food pairings for this beer is going to be your typical Russian Imperial Stouts. And the only thing they say is a chocolate, goes with your chocolate, dessert, and digestive. That's what they're saying. This will go well with your bigger, stronger dishes. You could drink it before dinner, during dinner with one of those strong dishes, or even after dinner as aperitif and or a digestive, or whatever you would want to call it there, or even dessert as far as I'm concerned. This is dessert in a bottle, really. I mean, with all that cocoa nibs and coffee and rich roasted malts and all that, this should be a very filling beer. So, glass rider pint, Becker, Nonic, tumbler, snifter. I've got the solvent beer glass that my brother Parrish sent me, and this beer can be cellared for long periods of time. Just be aware that the coffee is going to fade over time, just like hops will. So I don't know how long I would want to cellar this. It would be a good test to have two of these and And I may splurge, and if it ends up being a really good, tasty beer, I may pick up a couple of more and sell them one for maybe 3 to 5 years, and then do one like 10 years down the road and see what happens. So it would be a good test. It really would. So let's get on with this one. Like I said, guys, don't want this to be a monsterly long video. Set that down. It's got their typical BrewDog cap. And let's get it in the glass. 10%. Let's go down the center. Pitch black coming out of the bottle. And I'm smelling it from here. It's about a finger and a half of head, a very rich, dark colored head there. A lot darker than your typical tan or khaki colored head. Very rich looking, creamy head on top of this beer. And like I said, we're pouring it out of is black, and it is black in the glass. It's even black through the thin part of the glass. It's very, very dark. Very black. Black as night. Black as used Harley motor oil, like I used to say. Alright, looks good in the glass, guys. Like I said, about a finger and a half, and it's dissipated down to about a finger already. Let's get a nose on this one and see what we got. I'm getting vanilla. I'm getting alcohol. Getting a lot of rich, like a burnt malt. Caramel, toffee, maybe a hint of some dark fruits. Maybe even some tobacco and coffee. Got everything in this aroma that they've described in the commercial description. Very nice smelling beer. It's got a nice sweet smell to it. But with 85 IBUs, I got a feeling it's going to have some bitterness on the back end. So let's give it a taste. That time, let's get it on. Cheers, everybody. Surprisingly, not bitter. For 85 IBUs, and evidently it's taken that much bitterness to match the sweetness of the malt. Especially on a 10%er. Very nice. Very, very nice. Like I said, I don't have any inclination of when it was put in the bottle. I think it's fairly fresh because it's come from the new beer store that I'm dealing with now. Martin and the guys out there at Barrel Chest, and he's a stickler like I am for getting fresh beers, and he's told me already that he has already sent beers back to the distributor because of the dating on the bottles, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's and he was a home brewer, I think, and he was in the beer, the Star City Beer Guild. I don't know if he still is, because I'm not an active member. I think I still considered a member, but I'm not a paying active member. I don't do the beer competitions or make the monthly meetings anymore. But I still get the notices from those guys, and I still consider myself one of the members. So. Very nice smell. Very, very nice smell. Got a wonderful taste, very complex. A lot of stuff going on with the vanilla and the roasted malt and the coffee and a little bit of chocolate in there. Very pleasant smelling. This one will be a prime candidate to fire up a cigar and sip on this one for a little bit. But for just a small 12-ounce bottle, I could just as easily sit here and drink it all right in front of you right now. Pretty tasty. Bitterness is not as strong as I anticipated it being with 85 IBUs. And of course my palate has advanced over the last 5 years, and if I was to probably drink this 5 years ago, it would probably be it would have been too bitter for me. But now that my palate has advanced substantially since then, I don't find these 85 IBUs to be overly bitter, especially when you're drinking IPAs and double IPAs, where the IBUs are 100 or more. So very nice. So it's right out of the fridge, and I need to let it warm up to room temperature to let those aromas and flavors come out, because the stouts are best drank at room temperature, and I'm saying between 65 and 75 degrees, and that's what I intend to do. I'll take it back and let her take a sip or two out of it, and then I'll sip on it easily for at least 30 minutes or so and let it warm up. So I'll be right back. We'll do the final chug on this. It looks pretty impressive, but like I said, it's a fairly pricey beer too. So I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, I'm back. I've been sipping on it about 30 minutes or so. Very tasty beer. Worth $13 a bottle? Probably not. It is a very nice beer. Nice roasted, almost to the burnt characteristic of roasted barley. The vanilla is coming out in this. Chocolate, coffee. It's not over the top in the coffee. I've had a lot of coffee beers that were more coffee flavor than this is. I went to their website while I was sipping on this. It did not give me any information as far as when this particular batch 366 was done. All it says is the batch number and best before 2019. And being a 10% stout, all 10% stouts are going to be good to 2019. So their information on their website leaves a lot to be desired. I understand there's going to be some additional costs to transport this from Scotland to here, but for $13 a bottle, that's a little excessive in my opinion. That would be the only drawback that I see about this beer, as being as pricey as it is for a 10% Russian Imperial Stout, guys. There are some Russian Imperial Stouts that are better than this, especially the bourbon barrel aged versions, and it's a great beer, but for the price is the biggest drawback of this beer. Now, if you're in Scotland, I mean, it probably is not as expensive there, and I have some subs in Scotland, so you guys over there, you might put on the comments of what it costs there for y'all to buy a 12-ounce bottle of this, and it might be reasonable. You might be able to pick it up for $5 or $6 or $7 a bottle, where it's $13 a bottle here, which is cost prohibitive as far as I'm concerned, and would probably not buy it again because of the cost. But it is a tasty beer. It is a very tasty beer. A lot of stuff going on with this beer, and on their website they use Cascade, Fuggles, and Kent Golding's hops on this, and there is some wheat malt in there, but I do not get that. It is very well masked with all the other stuff going on in this beer. So it's very tasty. So let's do the final chug on this one. And like I said, I've got an 18% in there. It costs the same price, $13 a bottle. If I had my choice, if I had to pay $13 a bottle, I would choose the 18% over the 10%er. Now, it's allowed to be a lot more boozier than this beer is, and I'm liable to go ahead and jerk that out of the fridge tomorrow and review that one just to get it out of the way, and do pretty much side by side, you know, yesterday and today's beer, or today's beer and tomorrow's beer, side by side, so I'll get a pretty close inclination of how close or similar or dissimilar they are. But it's still a very tasty beer, but a very pricey beer. Final chug. Very nice. Very balanced, very well made beer. Not super boozy at all. Very drinkable for a 10%er, I will say that. Very well done beer, but very expensive, in my opinion. In my opinion. I would not go to a bar and order this beer and pay $13 a glass for it. The only reason I bought this is to review it for you guys. And I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I reviewed it, but like I said, I probably would not purchase it again at that price. As far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna give this an 8. I think it's an A beer, but I would not give it to 10, being a $13 a bottle. I've had Russian Imperial Stouts that are bourbon barrel aged that were just as tasty, if not tastier, than this beer. But it is a very well made beer with the alcohol being as hidden as it is, and all the flavors in this beer. Especially for an 85 IBU beer, it's not very bitter on the back end, so that tells me there was a lot of sweet malt used in producing this beer. So very well made beer. A lot of stuff going on, very complex. It's liable to be a little tastier down the road, but like I said, the coffee is going to fade more than likely. And like I said, the coffee is not that pronounced now, so 4 or 5 years from now, it's probably going to be barely detectable that there was any kind of coffee used in this beer. And the cocoa nibs add a lot of bitterness to the beer, in my opinion, and in my experience. I have brewed with those before, and it adds a little bit of bitterness, and sometimes a lot of bitterness, depends on how much you use in the fermentation of a stout of this magnitude. So, it was a great beer, but not blown away by it. Not for the price that I had to pay for it at $13 a bottle. Alright, 8, A- from me. Over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says 89, in a very good range. That's close to where I would put it. If I was putting a numeric rating on this one, it would probably be a 90 or a 91. Just because of the cost. If I had paid $5 for this, it would probably be maybe even a 9, maybe borderline 10 on this. But the cost of this beer is what, now, I mean, if you have deep pockets and it's unlimited and you really don't give a rat's ass how much you pay for beer, you might think this is a 10 beer. And if you're in Scotland and you can pick it up a lot cheaper than we can pick it up here in the States, especially here in Virginia, it may be a 10 beer, at least a 9 beer. But to me, the cost of the beer detracts from the grade point as far as I'm concerned. Because there are so many great Russian Imperial Stouts brewed here in the United States that you don't have to pay that kind of price for. Like I said, I can get 4 1050s for what I paid for one bottle of this. I can get several other different beers, and even the bourbon barrel aged versions of this beer, and even the big bottles, the 750 milliliters of bourbon barrel aged beers. I don't think I paid much more than that for some of the 750 bourbon barrel aged beers that are just as tasty as this. So that's the biggest reason that the grade is what it is, guys, because of the price of the beer and then what I'm getting from the beer. Very tasty, don't get me wrong, but at $13, I mean, that's a little more, that's a little over $1 an ounce. And got a problem with that. I got a little bit of a problem with that, especially not having the bottled or the year that it was bottled on. I don't know how old the beer is, and their website didn't help me out a bit. It did not go into the batch numbers or anything like that. So the website leaves a little bit to desired, and the price leaves a little bit to desired as far as I'm concerned. Over to Rate Beer. Rate Beer says overall 99. Excellent numbers from them, and 92 in the style. If I paid $5 for this bottle, I would probably come up to the 98 or 99. But at $13 a bottle, I'm not going to that. The cost of the beer gives the grade that it does. Like I said, if you're in Scotland and you can pick it up a lot cheaper, it may be a better grade for the beer. But here in the States, especially here in Virginia, it's a little on the pricey side, and there are better beers or just as good beers for a lot less money. So we're going to leave it at that. If you've had this one from BrewDog, their Cocoa Psycho, very tasty beer, no doubt about it, very well made beer, but a very pricey beer. So if you've had it, let me know what you think, guys, and let's go dig out the other BrewDog tomorrow and see what we got with that 18%er. See if it's going to be super boozy, and see if it's worth justifying $13 a bottle for it. Come on back tomorrow. We'll see you together. See you then.